I am Felicia, 33 years old, Harvard Medical School graduate and software entrepreneur. My phone buzzes with a text from Mom. Your sister needs a perfect wedding. We're using your college money. Despite the sting, I reply supportively, I want her to be happy too. Mom completely forgot I put myself through college and medical school with my software patents. The tension escalates when Amanda's wedding venue calls about an unpaid balance. If you have ever had your achievements overlooked by family, comment below where you are watching from, and subscribe to see how I finally stood up for myself. Growing up in a modest suburban neighborhood outside Boston, our family appeared normal from the outside. My mother, Kathleen, taught high school English with passion and precision, while my father, James, worked as an accountant at a local firm. We lived in a small but comfortable 3-bedroom house with a backyard just large enough for a swing set and my father's prized vegetable garden. Life seemed perfectly ordinary until I turned 9. That winter morning remains crystal clear in my memory. I was sitting at the kitchen table working on multiplication tables when the phone rang. Mom answered, then slowly sank into a chair, her face draining of color. Dad had suffered a massive heart attack at work. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was gone. Just like that, our family of 3 became 2 and everything changed. For months, Mom moved through the house like a ghost, teaching her classes mechanically, before coming home to stare at the television without really watching it. I learned to cook simple meals, do laundry, and keep our household functioning while she processed her grief. The responsibility felt heavy on my young shoulders, but I never complained. Mom needed me to be strong. The following year brought an unexpected development. Mom discovered she was pregnant, despite doctors previously telling her she couldn't have more children after complications during my birth. She called Amanda her miracle baby, the light that pulled her out of darkness. From the moment my sister was born 5 years after Dad died, she became the center of our universe. Look how she reaches for the mobile Felicia. She's going to be so smart, Mom would exclaim, while my straight-A report card sat unacknowledged on the refrigerator. Amanda needs these special developmental toys, she explained when purchasing expensive items. Despite our tight budget, while I wore hand-me-downs from cousins and neighbors, I quickly understood my role in our reconfigured family. I was the responsible one. The helper, the sturdy foundation upon which Mom could rebuild her life around precious Amanda. When I turned 12 Christmas morning, perfectly illustrated our family dynamic. I received practical gifts, a winter coat, school supplies, and socks. Amanda, then only 3, was showered with colorful toys, beautiful dresses, and electronic games far too advanced for her age. My grandmother Eleanor was the only one who truly saw me. On my 13th birthday, she arrived with a large box wrapped in blue paper. This is special just for you, she whispered, as I carefully removed the wrapping to reveal a refurbished computer. You have a brilliant mind, Felicia. This will help you use it. That computer changed everything. I taught myself coding through library books and free online tutorials, staying up late after finishing household chores and homework. I created simple games that impressed my teachers but barely registered with Mom, who was busy videotaping Amanda's first dance recital. When I won the middle school science fair with a computer program that could convert text to simple speech patterns, Mom had to work an extra shift at school. Amanda has a cold anyway, she explained. We couldn't bring her out in this weather. My teacher, Mrs. Wilson, stood beside me during the awards ceremony instead. High school brought advanced placement classes and continued responsibility at home. Grandmother Eleanor's health began declining, and I spent weekends helping her with groceries and medication management. My computer skills continued developing, catching the attention of my computer science teacher, Mrs. Peterson. You have exceptional talent, Felicia, she told me after class one day. Have you considered where you might apply to college? College seemed like a distant dream. With Mom's teacher salary stretched thin by Amanda's dance lessons, private tutoring, and the special foods she would only eat, there was nothing set aside for my education. Nevertheless, Mrs. Peterson introduced me to programming contests where I could win small cash prizes. At 16, I developed a simple appointment scheduling app for a local hair salon, earning $500 for my work. I proudly showed Mom the check, thinking she would finally recognize my accomplishment. That's wonderful, honey, she said absently. Actually, Amanda's dance competition entry fee is due tomorrow. Can I borrow this? I'll pay you back when I get my next paycheck. That money never returned to me, but the lesson was invaluable. I opened a bank account at a different bank than Mom used, listing grandmother Eleanor as the cosigner until I turned 18. Every dollar I earned from then on went directly into that account. With Mrs. Peterson's guidance and my school counselor's help, I applied for every scholarship available. I spent nights researching financial aid options while Mom helped Amanda with her elementary school homework at the kitchen table. When acceptance letters arrived from several universities, including Harvard with a substantial merit scholarship, Mom's reaction was lukewarm at best. "That's nice, but remember, family comes first," she said before turning to Amanda. "Show Felicia your drawing from art class today." I packed for college with a mixture of excitement and determination. My scholarship would cover tuition, but living expenses remained my responsibility. With $3,000 saved from programming jobs and a campus cafeteria position lined up, I was ready to forge my own path, with or without my mother's emotional support. "Call if you need anything," Mom said as she dropped me off at the dormitory, already checking her watch. "We need to get back for Amanda's soccer practice." As their car pulled away, I stood alone with my 2 suitcases facing the brick buildings that would become both my home and launching pad for a future entirely of my own making. Harvard's campus intimidated me that first week. Fellow freshmen arrived with parents who helped arrange their dorm rooms, purchased textbooks without wincing at prices, and took everyone out for expensive welcome dinners. I decorated my side of the shared room with items from discount stores, bought used textbooks, and ate my first meal alone in the cafeteria where I would soon be working 20 hours weekly. My roommate Tamara came from Connecticut with designer luggage and complained about the small closet space. When she learned I worked in the cafeteria, her expression shifted to something between pity and discomfort. We remained cordial but never became friends. The pre-med curriculum proved intensely challenging, with organic chemistry consuming most of my study time. Between classes, lab sessions, and cafeteria shifts, I barely slept 5 hours nightly. While classmates joined social clubs and attended parties, I maximized every minute. During mandatory freshman orientation events, I met Zoe, a computer science major who recognized the coding book I kept in my bag. "Ruby on Rails. Are you a programmer?" she asked, sitting beside me during a painfully long welcome speech. "Amateur," one admitted. "Self-taught." "Cool. We have a coding club that meets Thursdays if you ever want to join." That invitation changed everything. Suddenly, I had somewhere to belong. The coding club included students from various departments who shared my passion for technology. For the first time since grandmother Eleanor gave me that first computer, I found people who spoke my language. During sophomore year, I enrolled in a digital health seminar taught by Professor Lawrence, a pioneering researcher at the intersection of medicine and technology. The final assignment required designing a theoretical health application. Using my experience volunteering at the university hospital, I created a patient management system focusing on medication reconciliation, a frequent source of medical errors. "This is remarkably sophisticated," Felicia, Professor Lawrence, said after my presentation. "Have you considered developing this beyond the classroom?" During Christmas break, while Mom took Amanda shopping for new clothes, I remained at the kitchen table with my laptop expanding the prototype. When Mom asked me to fix the leaking bathroom faucet instead of playing on the computer, I complied without argument, then returned to coding late into the night. Back on campus, I entered my project in the university's medical innovation competition. Standing before judges from the medical school and local technology firms, I demonstrated how my system could potentially reduce medication errors by 30%. The panel awarded me first place and $25,000 in development funding. A local technology blog covered the competition, marking my first media appearance. Mom called that evening unusually enthusiastic. "Your Aunt Sandra saw an article about you online. Something about computers and medicine. Why didn't you tell us?" With university legal support, I filed my first patent application and connected with potential investors. A medical software company expressed interest in licensing the technology, leading to meetings with lawyers and business advisors provided by Harvard's Innovation Center. You need to protect yourself, advised Monica, the center's legal consultant. This could be valuable intellectual property. The licensing agreement finalized during my junior year included a $75,000 initial payment plus royalty percentages. I opened a separate business account and began investing portions with guidance from a financial advisor. Mom called shortly after the deal closed. Amanda needs braces, and insurance only covers part of the cost. How is your computer hobby going? Are you making any money from it? I carefully explained that any income was being reinvested in the business and saved for medical school expenses. Setting boundaries felt uncomfortable, but necessary. By senior year, I maintained a nearly perfect GPA, while my software license generated steady income. Medical school acceptance arrived with another partial scholarship. Between that, my software revenue, and careful financial management, I would graduate from Harvard Medical School completely debt-free. At my undergraduate graduation ceremony, Mom and 13-year-old Amanda attended, sitting restlessly through the proceedings. "Can we go to that restaurant near the aquarium for dinner?" Amanda asked as I met them after receiving my diploma. "The ceremony was so boring." Mom squeezed my shoulder. "We're proud of you, but now comes the real challenge with medical school. Are you sure you can handle that while working your cafeteria job?" I smiled, not mentioning that I had already resigned from the cafeteria position months earlier. "I will manage somehow." My quiet pride came not from the diploma in my hands, but from knowing that everything I had accomplished came through my own determination, resilience, and work. No one had handed me anything, and perversely, that made the achievement even more meaningful. Harvard Medical School presented entirely new challenges. The curriculum demanded every ounce of mental energy, with anatomy lab, pathophysiology, and clinical skills training filling even weekends. Yet, unlike many classmates who struggled with mounting student loans, my financial situation remained stable thanks to continuing software license payments. During orientation week, I met Jasmine, a fellow student who quickly became a close friend. Unlike others who viewed medicine primarily as a prestigious career path, Jasmine possessed genuine compassion for patients and intellectual curiosity about medical science. We formed a study partnership that helped us both excel. "How do you manage to stay so calm about finances?" she asked one evening as we reviewed histology slides. "Everyone else panics about loans every semester." I hesitated before sharing my software business background. Most medical students came from families with significant resources or resigned themselves to years of debt repayment. My situation felt uncomfortably exceptional. "That's incredible," Jasmine said after I explained. "You're running a business while handling med school. Most people can barely manage laundry alongside this curriculum." Between demanding courses and clinical rotations, I carved out time to continue software development. During hospital rotations, I noticed physicians struggling with diagnostic decision-making, particularly with unusual symptom presentations. This observation sparked an idea for an artificial intelligence-assisted diagnostic algorithm that could suggest possible conditions based on symptom clusters. Using savings from my first software license, I rented a small office space near campus and hired 2 skilled programmers to help develop the concept while I provided medical knowledge and overall direction. Managing the team remotely during clinical rotations required careful scheduling and clear communication, but the arrangement worked surprisingly well. During my internal medicine rotation, I impressed the attending physician with suggestions based on pattern recognition from my algorithm development work. "You have an unusual way of connecting symptoms," Felicia, Dr. Harrison, commented. "Very systematic. Most students don't think that way." By the end of my second year, we had filed 3 additional patents for diagnostic assistant software. A major hospital system expressed interest in piloting the technology, leading to meetings with their executive team. With professional legal representation, I negotiated a 7-figure licensing deal that transformed my side project into a legitimate business enterprise. My investment portfolio grew steadily under my financial advisor's guidance. At 25, I purchased a modest but comfortable condominium in Cambridge, carefully furnished with quality basics rather than flashy designer pieces. When Mom visited for the first time, she glanced around with mild disapproval. "It's very practical." I thought doctors lived more luxuriously. I'm still a student, Mom. I reminded her, not mentioning my growing business success. During this visit, Mom informed me that Amanda had dropped out of community college after one semester. School just isn't her thing, Mom explained, stirring her coffee. She's thinking about becoming an influencer. She has quite a following on Instagram already. The conversation inevitably turned toward money. Since you're doing so well with your schooling, maybe you could help out with Amanda's apartment security deposit. She found a nice place in a trendy neighborhood. I took a deep breath. I can help pay for vocational training if Amanda wants to learn a marketable skill, but I won't fund an apartment for an influencer career. Mom's expression hardened. You always were the selfish one. Amanda needs support to find her path. I'm offering support for education, I countered. Not everyone is academically inclined like you, Mom said dismissively. Besides, you work too much anyway. When was the last time you went on a date? The visit ended with tension, but I maintained my boundary. Amanda refused my offer of vocational training funds, claiming I was trying to control her life. I returned to my medical studies and business development with renewed focus. My final year of medical school included sub-internships, residency applications, and expanding software implementation at 3 hospital systems. The diagnostic algorithm showed promising early results, reducing time to correct diagnosis for complex cases by 20% in preliminary studies. At graduation, Mom and Amanda attended, but left during the reception for Amanda's art gallery opening, where she had a photograph on display. This is her big break, Mom explained while checking the time repeatedly during the ceremony. I celebrated instead with Jasmine, Professor Lawrence, and colleagues from my software company, who understood the magnitude of my accomplishment. With my medical degree in hand and a thriving business managed by trusted executives, I entered residency at Massachusetts General Hospital with financial security most of my peers couldn't imagine. Throughout these achievements, I maintained privacy about my business success, especially with family. Experience had taught me that financial transparency only invited complications and unreasonable expectations. 3 years into my residency, Mom called during a rare break between patient rounds. Amanda met someone she announced breathlessly. His name is Brian Harrison. He works in finance and comes from a wonderful family. They met at the charity gala she was covering for her social media. At 23, Amanda had built a modest following as a lifestyle influencer, primarily showcasing fashion, local events, and aspirational content. Her income remained irregular, supplemented by Mom and occasional retail jobs between social media campaigns. Over the next few weeks, my phone filled with texts and images of Amanda with Brian brunches at exclusive restaurants, weekends, and the Hamptons sailing excursions with his friends. Brian, 32, worked for his family's investment firm and clearly had substantial resources at his disposal. Just 4 months after meeting, Amanda called screaming with excitement. He proposed. On a private yacht with a photographer and everything. The ring is 4 carats, Felicia. 4 carats. The proposal video appeared on her Instagram, immediately gaining thousands of likes. The elaborate setup must have cost thousands, with champagne professional lighting and strategic rose petal placement creating a scene straight from a romantic film. Mom called during my clinic hours, leaving an urgent message to call back immediately regardless of the time. When I returned the call after finishing with patients, her voice trembled with excitement. We're having a family dinner this weekend to celebrate the engagement. The Harrisons want to meet us. You absolutely must attend, Felicia. This is crucial for Amanda's future. The dinner took place at an upscale Boston restaurant I could never have afforded during medical school. Brian's parents, Gerald and Catherine Harrison, arrived in matching luxury vehicles and designer attire that subtly communicated their social position. Catherine's jewelry alone probably cost more than my annual resident salary. Mom wore her best dress and repeatedly mentioned my Harvard education and medical career, embellishing details to impress the Harrisons. Amanda glowed with happiness, constantly touching Brian's arm and gazing adoringly at her enormous engagement ring. We're thinking about a June wedding next year, Amanda announced over dessert. At the Ocean View Estate in Newport. It's absolutely perfect. Gorgeous venue, Catherine Harrison nodded approvingly. Very exclusive. We want something truly special, Brian added, squeezing Amanda's hand. After dinner, Mom pulled me aside near the restrooms. The Harrisons are exactly the kind of family Amanda deserves to join. We need to make sure this wedding is perfect. I nodded non-committally, unaware of what this would eventually mean for me. The following weeks brought daily wedding updates. The venue alone cost $45,000. Amanda selected a $15,000 designer gown during a shopping trip that Mom described in reverent detail. Floral arrangements, custom invitations, and an internationally known photographer added tens of thousands more. During a family dinner at Mom's house, the total budget finally emerged $100,000. The Harrisons are contributing $50,000, Mom explained, as if this made the figure reasonable. So we just need to cover the other half. I asked carefully. Family contributes to weddings, Felicia, Mom stated firmly. The Harrisons will judge our entire family by this event. Amanda detailed elaborate plans for custom cocktails, a 10-piece band, and monogrammed welcome bags for out-of-town guests. Each element sounded increasingly expensive while Mom nodded encouragingly. The venue needs a $30,000 final payment in 3 weeks, Mom mentioned casually as I prepared to leave. They're very strict about payment deadlines. I see, I responded neutrally, not committing to anything. The following week, I traveled to Chicago for a medical conference presenting research on implementation outcomes for the diagnostic software system. During a brief break between sessions, my phone exploded with text notifications from Mom. Venue called about final payment. Amanda in tears about possibly losing date. Florist also needs deposit. Harrison's asking about payment status. Then came the message that stopped me cold. Your sister needs a perfect wedding. We're using your college fund. I stared at the screen momentarily speechless. What college fund? I had put myself through school entirely without family financial support. Did Mom genuinely believe I had received money from her for education? After gathering my thoughts, I replied simply, I want her to be happy too. This deliberately ambiguous response bought time while I processed the situation. Mom had completely forgotten or chosen to ignore that I had funded my entire education through scholarships, work, and my software business. She apparently believed I owed the family money that had never existed. The messages continued throughout the conference. Amanda found perfect centerpieces, but they're pricey. Photographer wants additional session fee. Need to add premium open bar package. Each notification represented thousands of dollars and an assumption that I would contribute. I responded minimally, focusing on my conference presentations while internally preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Upon returning to Boston, the situation escalated. Mom called daily with wedding emergencies requiring immediate funding. Amanda sent links to wedding elements with captions like, "This would be perfect," without mentioning costs. The underlying message remained clear: as the financially stable family member, I was expected to subsidize this extravaganza. 3 days after my return, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. The caller identified herself as Sophia Morgan, events coordinator at the Ocean View Estate. I'm contacting you about the final venue payment for the Harrison Palmer wedding, she explained professionally. Your mother provided your contact information for payment processing. We need to receive the $30,000 balance within 7 days to maintain the reservation. The moment had arrived. After years of unequal treatment and unacknowledged achievements, I needed to address the situation directly. I'll handle this matter personally, I told Sophia. Please expect communication from me tomorrow. That evening, I called Mom. We need to have a family meeting about the wedding budget. Can you come to my condo tomorrow evening? Finally, Mom sounded relieved. I'll tell Amanda you're ready to discuss your contribution. I hung up and prepared myself for what would likely be the most difficult family conversation of my life. I spent the day before our meeting organizing financial documentation. Medical rounds completed, I returned home early to prepare light refreshments and arrange my living room for what I anticipated would be a tense but necessary conversation. At precisely 7 o'clock, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, I found not only Mom but also Amanda and Brian standing in the hallway. I thought Brian should be part of this discussion since it's his wedding too, Amanda explained, stepping inside without waiting for a response. Mom immediately surveyed my condo with her typical mild disapproval. You really should add some color to this place, Felicia. Everything is so beige. We settled in the living room, Amanda and Brian taking the sofa, while Mom chose the armchair nearest them. I remained standing briefly before sitting in the remaining chair across from them. "Thank you for coming," I began. "I wanted to discuss the wedding budget and expectations." Before I could continue, Mom jumped in eagerly. "Yes, the venue coordinator called me today. They absolutely need the payment this week. I told her you'd be handling it." "About that," I said carefully. "There seems to be some confusion about my financial situation and obligations." "What confusion?" Mom frowned. "You have your college fund money. You always were good at saving." "What college fund?" I asked directly. "The money we set aside for your education," Mom stated with surprising confidence. "You had scholarships, so you didn't need to use it all." Amanda leaned forward. "Mom said there was education money that you didn't use because you got scholarships." The misunderstanding, or perhaps wishful thinking, was finally clear. Mom had constructed a narrative where family money had supported my education, leaving an obligation for me to reciprocate. "There was never any college fund," I said, quietly but firmly. "Dad died when I was 9, and we lived on your teacher's salary, Mom. There wasn't money for a college fund." "But your tuition?" Mom began uncertainly. "I paid for my education through scholarships, working cafeteria jobs, and eventually through my software business." Brian shifted uncomfortably beside Amanda, whose expression was transitioning from confusion to alarm. "What software business?" he asked. I took a deep breath and retrieved a folder from the side table. "I developed medical software during college and medical school. The patents and licensing agreements funded my education entirely. I graduated without any family financial assistance and without debt. I placed my Harvard Medical School diploma and business incorporation documents on the coffee table." Mom stared at the papers, her face transitioning from disbelief to embarrassment. "That cannot be right," she whispered. "We always supported your education." "Emotionally, perhaps," I acknowledged, "but not financially. Every dollar came from my work and business." Amanda's eyes widened, then narrowed accusingly. "You have a business, and you never told us. You've been hiding money while I struggled with my influencer career." "I haven't hidden anything," I countered. "I've been transparent about my medical career. The business aspects simply never came up in our conversations." "Because you never share anything," Amanda's voice rose. "You always act so superior and independent." Brian studied the documents with increasing interest. "These licensing agreements are with major healthcare systems. This is impressive, Felicia." Amanda turned on him angrily. "Whose side are you on? She's been secretly rich while watching me work retail between campaigns." "I'm not secretly rich," I clarified. "I'm financially stable because of choices and work I've done over many years." "So you're just going to let my wedding fall apart?" Amanda demanded, tears forming. "After everything Mom has done for you?" The room grew silent as the implication hung in the air. I looked directly at my mother, whose gaze dropped to her hands. "What exactly has Mom done for me that creates this obligation?" I asked quietly. "She raised you," Amanda exclaimed. "She sacrificed everything after Dad died." "She raised both of us," I corrected. "And from age 9 onward, I took on adult responsibilities in our household, while you received the majority of attention and resources." Mom finally looked up. Amanda needed more support. She was sensitive, artistic. "And I wasn't. Or did you simply not notice because I handled things independently out of necessity?" Years of unacknowledged inequality surfaced in that moment. I outlined specific instances: the Christmas gifts, the borrowed money never returned, the missed academic achievements, the constant expectation that I would care for Amanda while receiving minimal support myself. Brian watched this exchange with growing discomfort, witnessing family dynamics he clearly hadn't observed before. Amanda began sobbing dramatically, claiming I was ruining everything and always jealous of her. "I'm not jealous," I stated calmly. "I'm establishing boundaries." "Family doesn't have boundaries," Mom interjected. "Family helps each other." "Help should flow in multiple directions," I responded. "When have either of you supported my goals or acknowledged my achievements without immediately asking for something in return?" This question hung unanswered in the air. Amanda stood abruptly, gathering her designer purse. "I can't believe you're being so selfish. This is my special day." She stormed toward the door with Mom rising to follow. Brian remained seated momentarily. "I apologize for the tension," he said quietly. "I had no idea about any of this family history." After a moment's hesitation, he followed Amanda, leaving Mom and me alone in the suddenly quiet room. "How could you embarrass us like this in front of Brian?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm simply stating facts, Mom. There is no college fund. There never was." "But you have money now," she insisted, "and family obligations." "I've established my life through hard work that you never acknowledged," I replied. "The pattern of overlooking my needs while prioritizing Amanda's cannot continue." "You always were the difficult one," she sighed. "Amanda just needs more nurturing." "She's 23, Mom. At her age, I was halfway through medical school while running a business." "Not everyone is like you, Felicia." "That's exactly my point. We're different people with different needs and paths. I won't be financially responsible for choices I didn't participate in making." Mom gathered her coat, tears filling her eyes. "I don't even know who you are anymore." "That's the problem, Mom. You never really knew me at all." After she left, I finally allowed my own tears to fall in the privacy of my condo. The confrontation had been necessary but painful, exposing family wounds long concealed beneath politeness and avoidance. The morning after our confrontation, I called in a personal day from the hospital. After years of perfect attendance, the chief resident expressed concern rather than disapproval. "Take care of yourself, Felicia. You never miss work. It must be important." I spent the morning walking through Boston Common, watching early joggers and people hurrying to work. The previous night's conversation replayed in my mind, each emotional moment bringing fresh waves of discomfort and relief. At 11, I arrived at Dr. Morgan's office for an emergency therapy session. I had begun seeing her during second-year medical school when panic attacks threatened my performance. Though our sessions had reduced to monthly check-ins, she made time when I called explaining the family crisis. "Tell me what happened," she said after I settled into the familiar chair. I recounted the confrontation in detail, including Amanda's accusations and Mom's bewildering belief in a non-existent college fund. "Your mother has created a narrative that justifies her behavior," Dr. Morgan observed. "Acknowledging the truth would mean confronting her own failings as a parent. I feel guilty for upsetting everyone I admitted, but also angry about years of being overlooked and now being treated like a bank account." "Both feelings are valid," she assured me. "You can feel compassion for your family while maintaining healthy boundaries." We discussed family systems theory and how Amanda had been conditioned to expect rescue and special treatment, making her ill-equipped for adult responsibilities. "Your mother's enabling behavior didn't serve either of you well," Dr. Morgan noted. "Amanda lacks resilience because she never needed to develop it." After therapy, I met Professor Lawrence for lunch. Though officially retired from teaching, he remained a valued mentor who understood both my medical and technological endeavors. "Family expectations can be the heaviest burden," he said after hearing my situation, "especially when they're based on distorted perceptions." "I don't want to destroy my relationship with them," I explained, "but I can't continue the pattern." "Sometimes relationships must be reimagined on healthier terms," he advised, "which may involve temporary discomfort for long-term health." That afternoon, I received a supportive video call from Zoe, who had experienced similar dynamics with her own siblings. "You're not responsible for fulfilling your sister's princess fantasies," she assured me. "Setting boundaries isn't cruel, it's necessary." Evening found me journaling in my condo, mapping potential approaches to the situation. I considered options ranging from complete financial disengagement to fully funding the wedding with clear stipulations. After careful reflection, I recognized that enabling the excessive spending would ultimately harm Amanda rather than help her. Yet completely withdrawing support might permanently damage our relationship beyond repair. I scheduled a meeting with my financial advisor the following morning to determine what contribution I could comfortably make without compromising my principles or financial security. "Based on your current position, you could allocate $20,000 without impact to your long-term goals," he advised after reviewing my accounts. "But the question isn't whether you can afford it, but whether it aligns with your values." I drafted conditions for potential support, a reasonable budget, financial counseling for Amanda and Brian, and acknowledgement of past family patterns with commitment to healthier interactions moving forward. That evening, my phone rang with Brian's number. "Can we meet tomorrow? Just us?" he asked. "There are things I need to understand better." We arranged to meet at a quiet coffee shop near the hospital. Brian arrived in a business suit looking significantly more serious than during our previous encounters. "I want to apologize for the other night," he began after ordering coffee. "I had no idea about your family dynamics." "It's not something we discuss openly," I acknowledged. "Amanda presented a very different picture of your childhood and your current situation," he said carefully. "After seeing those documents and hearing your perspective, I'm concerned about some inconsistencies." We spoke for nearly 2 hours. Brian shared his growing concerns about Amanda's spending habits and expectations. Since their engagement, she had increased her already substantial shopping, explaining that she needed to look the part of a Harrison family member. "My parents are wealthy, yes, but they're actually quite conservative with money," he explained. "They built their firm through discipline and smart investments. The flashy lifestyle Amanda associates with wealth isn't actually how we operate. Amanda has always equated love with material indulgence," I explained. "Mom compensated for emotional absences with gifts and special treats." Brian nodded thoughtfully. "I love Amanda's spirit and creativity, but I'm realizing we need to address some fundamental differences in how we view money and responsibility." "Do you still want to marry her?" I asked directly. "Yes," he replied without hesitation, "but with clearer expectations and probably a more reasonable wedding." As we prepared to leave, Brian expressed admiration for my accomplishments. "What you've built through your own efforts is remarkable, Felicia. Amanda never mentioned your software patents or business. She actually described you as just a doctor who didn't understand her creative aspirations." I smiled slightly. "Our paths have been very different. I'd like to understand your path better," he said sincerely, "and perhaps help Amanda appreciate it too." This unexpected conversation provided new perspective as I finalized my approach to the wedding situation. With greater insight into Brian's values and concerns, I felt more confident about the boundaries I planned to establish. 3 days after meeting with Brian, I arranged another family meeting at a neutral location, a private dining room at a restaurant equidistant from our respective homes. Mom arrived first, her expression guarded but less hostile than during our previous encounter. Amanda appeared shortly after, red-eyed, but composed, with Brian supportively at her side. "Thank you all for coming," I began once we were seated. "I've given our situation considerable thought and want to propose a path forward." I outlined my perspective, clearly acknowledging that while our family history contained painful imbalances, we shared enough love to seek resolution. Rather than dwelling on past hurts, I focused on establishing healthier patterns moving forward. "I care about both of you," I told Mom and Amanda sincerely. "And I want to support Amanda's marriage in appropriate ways." I presented my proposal. I would contribute $20,000 toward wedding expenses with several conditions. First, the overall budget would be scaled back to a still beautiful but reasonable amount. Second, Amanda and Mom would attend 3 financial counseling sessions to establish sustainable spending habits. Third, we would establish new family communication guidelines that respected each member's boundaries and acknowledged achievements without immediate expectations of reciprocation. Mom initially bristled at the counseling requirement. "We don't need therapy to plan a wedding." "This isn't about the wedding," I clarified. "It's about establishing patterns that will support Amanda's marriage and our family relationships long term." Amanda remained uncharacteristically quiet, studying the tablecloth intensely. "I think these are reasonable conditions," Brian finally said, breaking the tension. "Actually, I'd like to join the financial counseling sessions. My parents built their business on solid financial principles that I'd like us to incorporate into our marriage." This unexpected support shifted the dynamic. Amanda looked up with surprise. "You want to do counseling too?" "I think it would benefit us," he affirmed. "Starting our marriage with clear financial understanding would be valuable." Slowly, reluctantly, Amanda nodded. "If Brian thinks it's important." Mom sighed heavily but eventually agreed as well. "I suppose we could try it." With the framework established, we discussed a revised wedding plan that maintained essential elements while eliminating extravagances. The venue remained, but guest count decreased. The designer dress stayed, but elaborate floral installations simplified. The premium open bar package became standard beverage service. It will still be beautiful, I assured Amanda, just without creating financial strain. Over the following weeks, wedding planning resumed with more realistic parameters. I took an active role in vendor negotiations using business skills that surprised both Mom and Amanda. "How did you get the photographer to include the engagement session at that price?" Amanda asked, after one particularly successful negotiation. I reviewed their contract terms and identified valuable concessions we could offer in exchange for fee adjustments, I explained. "I didn't know you could do that," she admitted. "There's probably a lot we don't know about each other," I suggested gently. The financial counseling sessions proved surprisingly productive. The counselor helped Amanda understand the difference between Instagram lifestyle appearances and sustainable financial reality. Mom reluctantly examined her pattern of using material items to express affection rather than more meaningful support. "I just wanted Amanda to have everything I couldn't give you after your father died," she confessed during our third session. "I felt like I failed you, so I overcompensated with her. I needed your presence and recognition more than things," I told her quietly. As wedding week arrived, tensions had transformed into manageable stress rather than family dysfunction. The night before the ceremony, I found myself alone with Amanda in the hotel suite. As she prepared for her rehearsal dinner, "Can you help with this necklace clasp?" she asked, holding up a delicate pendant. As I fastened it around her neck, our eyes met in the mirror. "I'm sorry I called you selfish," she said suddenly, "and for not recognizing everything you've accomplished." "I'm sorry too," I replied, "for not being more present in your life despite our differences." "Did you really put yourself through Harvard Medical School?" she asked with genuine curiosity. "Yes, it wasn't easy, but it taught me I could depend on myself." "That's actually pretty amazing," she admitted. This small moment of genuine connection felt more valuable than any financial contribution to her wedding. The ceremony proceeded beautifully the following day. Amanda looked radiant. The scaled-back decorations remained elegant, and the Harrison family expressed appreciation for the tasteful celebration that focused on the relationship rather than extravagance. During the reception, Mom approached me at the cocktail hour, champagne in hand. "I've been thinking about what you said," she began hesitantly, "about not acknowledging your achievements." I waited silently as she gathered her thoughts. "You were always so capable that I thought you didn't need my attention the way Amanda did. But that wasn't fair to you." "No," I agreed quietly. "It wasn't." "I'm proud of you, Felicia," she said, meeting my eyes directly. "Not just for your success, but for becoming someone strong enough to speak her truth even when it's difficult." This acknowledgement, long withheld, felt like water in an emotional desert. The Harrisons welcomed me warmly throughout the event, with Brian's father expressing particular interest in my medical software innovations. "Brian mentioned your work combines clinical expertise with technological solutions. I'd love to hear more about that sometime." 3 months after the wedding, we gathered for dinner at Brian and Amanda's new apartment, a modest but stylish space within their actual budget rather than aspirational spending. Amanda proudly showed me her business plan for a small social media consulting company focused on helping local businesses establish effective online presence. Brian helped me with the financial projections, she explained, and I'm taking online courses in digital marketing to build my skills. Mom arrived last, surprisingly apologetic for her tardiness. I was at a faculty meeting that ran long. We're implementing a new literacy program I'm helping coordinate. As dinner progressed, Mom mentioned an upcoming medical research award ceremony at Massachusetts General Hospital. I'd like to attend if that's all right. Your sister mentioned you're receiving recognition for your diagnostic software implementation. The simple acknowledgement of my professional achievement without qualification or comparison felt like a significant shift in our family dynamic. The journey from resentment to reconciliation hadn't been smooth or complete. Old patterns occasionally re-emerged, requiring gentle correction and continued communication. But fundamental changes had taken root, allowing authentic relationships to develop where performance and comparison once dominated. I learned that standing up for myself didn't require destroying family bonds. It actually enabled healthier connections based on mutual respect rather than obligation and resentment. By refusing to participate in unhealthy patterns, I created space for new ones to emerge. Most importantly, I recognized that while forgiveness was possible, forgetting wasn't necessary or even desirable. Our family history shaped us, but didn't have to define our future interactions. The boundaries I established weren't walls to keep people out, but foundations upon which we could build more balanced relationships. As we finished dessert that evening, I observed my small family with new appreciation for our imperfect but evolving connections. The path forward wouldn't always be smooth, but it now contained something previously missing: hope for genuine understanding. Have you ever had to establish boundaries with family members who overlooked your achievements? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need encouragement to stand up for themselves while preserving important relationships. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that healthy boundaries aren't selfish. They're necessary for authentic connection and personal growth.